I've teamed up with GoCar. Let me tell you why. Ireland has more cars on the road today than we've ever had before. In fact, 750,000 households have 2 or more cars. That doesn't sound like the future of driving to me. Car sharing takes cars off the road. In fact, GoCar asked 4,000 of their members, if GoCar didn't exist, would you buy yourself a car? 60% of them said they would. If you want a cost-effective and convenient way to get around, download the GoCar app and discover the smarter and affordable way to move. I'm joined by Sarah, and Sarah is new to the podcast, but she's also brand new to Prosperous. This is exactly a week in. We gave you a week to settle in before you put you behind the mic. Sarah, you're gone in as a marketing executive.
I am.
You're very welcome to Prosperous, but you're also very welcome to the podcast. And you're taking over from Amanda this week, and you're going to ask the questions.
I am.
We've got 2 questions today, is it?
We do, yeah.
Okay. Let's just jump straight in. We'll let you settle in. We'll get the first question.
Wait for the shakes to stop.
Yeah.
My name is Bernard. I'm a 46-year-old male. I'm currently on disability as I am on dialysis, which will be long term. And I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for EE Mobile. I currently have with my partner approximately 10 years, and she has a state job. So I obviously have no savings whatsoever. I'm very bad with money. And I always have been. I've never been good with money. And we're coming to our stage of our lives where we need our own place, no matter how big or small it is. And we just appreciate any advice that you could give us, any places we could go for help. Obviously, with one person being chronically sick and the other person being healthy, it's a lot harder to get a mortgage. Our mortgage insurance won't cover me for anything kidney related. Thanks, guys.
Okay. What do you think the question actually is there?
I think the question is probably what can he do, I suppose, that will help them get a mortgage? Is it that his partner is the one that does the application? I think he's just probably, looking for a bit of guidance.
Sounds like he's in a tough spot, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So obviously the health, and I would always say there's nothing more important than your health. And when you get a knock from a health perspective, it can really throw everything out of line in terms of your priorities change dramatically. The issue that he's having there is that this is a long-term health situation, and therefore at some stage he has to bring it back to, okay, right, what can I do and what can we do as a couple? So a couple of things to be mindful of. It's unlikely that he's going to be able to get, as he said himself, get insurance for a mortgage, and therefore he's going to be less attractive to a lender to give him a mortgage in the first place. It's possible because they're partners. He used the word partner quite a bit. I'd suggest that means they're not married to each other, and that's a suggestion. And if they're not married to each other and they're not living together currently and they're looking to buy, it might be a situation that his partner can actually get a mortgage by themselves.
Yeah, it might work in their favour.
Yeah, it possibly could work in their favour. I'm not saying if they were married, it's definitely going to go against them, but it might work in their favour in this circumstance. And what I think this person needs to do is, from a mortgage perspective, they need to sit down with a good mortgage broker. Okay? If you walk into one of the banks, you're walking into one bank. If you walk into a broker, you're walking into all the banks. And a good mortgage broker will know, how does this bank treat married couples versus unmarried couples? How does this this lender treat people who have one person whose maybe income may be affected or their long-term health is going to affect it, and they'll be able to take their personal circumstances and decide where best to apply for a mortgage, and whether to apply on their own or separately, or what way to do it. So I think mortgage broker is key here. The other thing that this person needs to be aware of, we do have quite an archaic system in terms of the tax system and the social welfare system and everything else. I would talk to the Intrio office, because there's a local office in most towns and cities. You'll have an Intrio office, INTREO, and they are the experts on what your entitlements are from a social welfare perspective. And I think it'd be a good chat for this person to have with them anyway, to find out what are my entitlements, what should I be able to get and what should I not be able to get. But also, even though our system is archaic, when you start living as husband and wife, whether you're married or not, sometimes that can negatively impact on the entitlements that you may even be in receipt of already. So they need to check it in twofold. They need to check from a mortgage perspective, but they
Yeah.
also need to check from a social welfare benefits perspective.
Yeah.
What moving in together or living together as husband and wife, even if they don't actually tie the knot,
Yeah.
how that's going to impact them.
Yeah. So you're saying they kind of need to sit down with a professional who can look at their exact situation and their exact financials and give them the best advice with applying.
With their circumstance. Said it better than me. Let's go for the second one.
Hi, Owen. My name is Deirdre. I've just listened to your podcast on our relationships with money, and I'm just looking for some advice around fairly okay with money. We have savings set up for our 9-year-old for kind of college in a 60-40. We have a buffer that we're growing, so it started off as 2,000 and we're putting money into it monthly and haven't touched it. That's also in a 60-40. But I'm just looking for advice around our overdraft. So we're always in our overdraft. We've kept it at 500, but every single month we're in our overdraft. And even I've done it occasionally where I've got a bonus or I've got something else and I've said, right, let's pay it off. That's it, we're clear. Haven't cancelled it, which is probably the issue, but always that fear that in a given month that I won't have it. Just looking for some advice around how to finally get rid of the overdraft and what's the best way to approach it. Thanks.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say it's a really common question that loads of the listeners would have about overdrafts. I'd say everybody has that anxiety every month.
Yeah.
And I think the listeners would love some advice.
Okay, so what I would say about this is the first thing you need to do is you need to get to the root cause of why you have this financial security of having an overdraft, right? Why do you have that in the first place?
Yeah.
Because and she addresses it there. I worry, what would I do without it? Where would I be without it? And I use it sometimes and I get rid of it, but I never cancel it.
Yeah.
And what's holding you back from actually cancelling it? The reality is it's got to do with that you're worried about something big is going to happen that you haven't prepared for. And therefore, if you don't have this financial security blanket, where would you go?
Sounds like they have a bit of a financial security blanket with the buffer fund.
Yeah, but there's something deeper there. And maybe something has happened to them in the past. There's something that's saying, I don't want to let go of that, right? Like they have savings for the kids. They've got other stuff that they could draw on. It's really, this comes down to buffer, and we always talk about buffer. Sarah, I know you're new to this today, but buffer is something that we talk about all the time. That should be your financial security blanket, okay? Where you've got ideally 3 to 6 months take-home pay sitting in an account. You can draw it out on whatever you want. And I promise you, if this person had 3 to 6 months, 3 months if it's really stable income, 6 months if you've got, maybe you're self-employed and your income's a bit up and down, a bit dramatic, 6 months take-home pay sitting in a bank account.
Yeah.
And I promise you, if this person had that, they wouldn't be relying on the stability that the overdraft is providing them, the false stability that the overdraft is providing them. But you also have to recognise what an overdraft is. It's a loan.
Yeah.
And it's quite an expensive loan. Like on the scale of things, you're talking about car loans, personal loans, 6-8%, mortgages kind of 4%, car loans, personal loans, 6-8%. Overdraft, 15% typically. Credit card is the next one up at 22%. And they're all loans.
Yeah.
And you have to address the fact that this is costing you money and it's paying for the banker's holidays. Okay? And the only way you're going to do that is you need to create a new zero. So if someone has an overdraft of €500, their zero is actually minus 500 each month. You need to create your new zero at plus 500 or plus 1,000 or whatever it is that you're mentally in your head, you're never going into it. And when you're going into it, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And sometimes if your overdraft is quite large, it can be worth saying, okay, am I worth off going to the credit union and borrowing some money to clear it off and closing it down, making sure you shut it down? But the simpler way of that is let's say your current zero is minus 500. Next month, make your current zero being minus 400. And the month after, minus
gradually,
300.
like
and
weaning
gradually,
yourself out.
Exactly. Weaning yourself is the best word to use there. Weaning yourself off it, getting used to not dipping into it.
Yeah.
And even if there's reluctance at that point, okay, I've got the zero and now I'm at plus 500 and my bank account never goes below 500 in a given month. Even if you're still reluctant to cancel the credit card, the overdraft, promise yourself, say it at the start, once I'm 3 months without using it, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's the only way, but having the buffer on the side is the only real route, because there's underlying issues for everybody. Issues sounds like it's very strong. There's underlying things going on for everybody where they want this financial security blanket. And if you choose the wrong financial security blanket, i.e. credit card or overdraft, I mean it, you're lining the pockets of the bankers and not your own. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's our 2 questions for this week. You did well. You happy now?
Yes.
Yeah. We do need questions in. I was going to do something really mean.
Oh no, what were you going to do?
I was going to kick that over.
Oh, no,
I did it on purpose. I didn't do it on purpose. So on the ground is a piece of paper with the telephone number that you said. What's the number?
So if you could send WhatsApp voice notes to 087 291 0507. That is 087 291 0507.
Okay. So that is the contact details for the show. If you've got a question you want to have on the show, send it through. Got suggestions for guests or suggestions that you want to come on yourself, that's where WhatsApp and that number is how you get in touch with the show.
Yes.
Sarah, you did great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.